What's up, everyone? This is the Godfather Dictator.
And this is Bigalski.
And JTB.
So, welcome to this video where we'll be talking about the history, I guess, of Ninja Gaiden and the player that were here early on that are sadly not active anymore, but that pretty much, created some of the strat that we're still using today. And I'm gonna let Big Al and JTB talk about that because they were here, well, way before I was even active.
Hey, well, at least you got into it.
Yeah, never too late, right?
Right, exactly. It's never too late, even up till today.
So,
I mean, I guess the earliest is the game FAQs era, the game facts. I know Al, you were on there from the very beginning.
Yeah, I
Um,
started, well, real quick, I got the game in 2004 whenever it came out. I know I've told this story before on one of my streams and maybe JTB's, but I started in 2004 and I think I played through it once. This was right before even the Hurricane packs came out. And I really didn't like it. And so I kind of
oh,
put it on the shelf.
I did not know that.
Uh,
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And then I picked it up again after the Hurricane Pack came out, but I decided to play through I think Hurricane Pack 1, that's when you could upload your score. It was just a regular game, upload your
mhm.
score. And I remember playing it and uh the highest or what was on this leaderboard at that time was like 1408 players. And I uploaded my score, and after I got through with it, I felt like a big sense of accomplishment, and I was talking to my wife about it, and I remember kind of bragging to her. I said, "Hey, I think I did extremely well. I really don't see how I'm not gonna be, like, in the top 20 or" and I was really proud, so I uploaded my score, and this is where I got my humbleness or part of my humbleness. I was 1,392. Out of 1,408. And I'm like, "Well, screw this game," and all that stuff. So I actually completely got away from it for almost a year. And then whenever I was taking some college classes, the guys in there were talking about the game, and at that point, I think, Ninja Gaiden Black hadn't come out yet, but that's when I joined GameFAQs, and that was in May of 2005. And then that's when I started, getting into it. The Hurricane packs were out, so people were doing Master Ninja Tournament 1, 2, and 3. That's where I met people like Weeble 760. I met P. Saren Foreman, who actually won the 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 Master Ninja Tournament for Europe. Um, let's see who else. JTB. Were you over there in 2005?
Yeah, I was on GameFAQs from. God, I had an account. I made an account when Halo 2 came out. I think.
Oh, okay, okay.
And just to look up skulls, the skulls in Halo 2. I want to I want to find where
Right.
they were. And for anyone listening that might be a bit younger, this is long before YouTube. You went and like downloaded a guide usually, and you'd had a look at that. So yeah, I was on there for a while before before NGO4 was out.
Well, that's where, I met Iberian Warrior and then all of that. And that's kind of we can talk about that a little bit later on. But anyway, so that was kind of my intro into it. Getting into game facts and then starting to talk about the game and people's, really kind of going from there.
but
What
that
about you,
was but
Godfather?
that was before, though. You said NGB got released, though, right?
Yeah, I think it got released in what, September, I
Okay,
think of.
so I can tell you a little bit
Mhm.
of my experience on how I got introduced with it, but that's not when I started playing seriously, all right? So how I got introduced to NGB back then is that there was one of my IRL friend that I was going to visit every now and then when I had my scooter back then. So I think I was 14 or 15, and I would go to his place, and he would have an older brother that has an Xbox, but he was often out. And there was time that I was letting my friend borrow my scooter to, go get some stuff back then because he liked to ride and he didn't have one himself. So I would let him borrow it. And then I saw his brother that was, playing. I think it was the Ninja Gaiden original in 2004, and I thought the game looked real interesting. And back then, I just like played it, had some fun with it. I was really bad at it actually. I was not good at all. And then it kind of just stayed like that, where I played the game a little bit, never really got into it, and then it's around 2007 for me, I would say.
Wow.
Where yeah, way later than you guys. That's what I'm saying. 2007. It was. I remember exactly the time where I got in. It was when Balbade had found the new strat in Chapter 1 where you could kill the second crow on top of the fence, and then it kind of opened up the strat for all the well, for the first gauntlet of the chapter, pretty much. Where you would kill that crow on top of the fence, and then you could chain his essence to every fight, and that's also when Balbade had surprisingly beat the Kiori score by 5 or 6,000, which was used back then. I think Kiori had done 671 on Chapter 1, and then Balbade had done his 676. And that got me real interested in, doing Karma at first. And then when I started doing it, I watched Balbade video, and that's pretty much back then where the introduction with me and Big Al, and also with JTV too, in a little bit, not in a good way back then. I remember where I pretty much,
I remember too.
yeah, where I pretty much went and said, well, I think I can beat that score, and Big Al just straight up said, well, dude, if you think you can beat the score, record it on video, And at first, I didn't want to share strategy. I was being a antisocial bastard. I was a kid, to be fair. I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, Big Al pretty much told me in a very gentle way over a message that it's not how community works, in a way that when you want a game to improve, you got to be willing to share the strategy so that there's a constant evolution, in the game cycle, and that's how you find new strat along the way. So that's pretty much how I was introduced to Big Al back then, and it ultimately made me a better person in real life, because that taught me, that again, sharing strat and all, and not keeping strat for yourself is definitely the way to go in gaming. And that's pretty much how, after, we'll say, I started doing the Karma, then I burned myself out doing over 700,000 in Chapter 1, got it at some point. And then after, this is when I looked a little bit at the section for mission mode on video. I saw that there was a lot of empty spot for the no damage, no Nimpo, series then, and that got me really interested in starting to pretty much fill up those empty spot, and that's how I got into the no damage in general, and I kind of left out the Karma, if you want, at that point. Not that I did not appreciate it, the Karma. It's the opposite. Is I just noticed that I would burn myself out trying to go for the score that I really wanted, And now that Kel is doing it today, it just proved that I was right.
Well, I know we jumped up quite a bit and what led to, you looking at the Karma and everything, but I will say, in my opinion, back in the day, there was two guys that really helped define just getting through Ninja Gaiden 2004.
All right, go ahead.
And one was, his name was Shin, and Shin is the one, as far as I know, that I've ever seen. And I mean, I don't know, there could be other boards in different countries that we don't have access to or understand, or, language barrier, or however you want to call it. But what we saw, Shin was the one who figured out, get Mirai to roll, and then you can attack. Just get him to roll, and then, whatever string you want to do.
Was that just Shin or Shinobi or
No,
different
Shin.
player?
Shin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Now Shinobi, I think, is the one that revolutionized the game, the first part of the game. I remember people always talked about him. He had some great videos out there when he finally started making them. He was the one who figured out the let Alma swoop or stomp and then do the hold Y.
Damn.
At that point, people just tried to either wall jump her, and also just tried to flying swallow
Swallow
her.
nonstop. Yeah. No A straight slash, basically.
Right. And Shinobier, I'll never forget Weeble760, who he set a record that's still, from 15 years ago that still stands today on what is it, Abysmal Layer 2? I think he still has that high score, I think. But anyway, he was one of the top players in the Hurricane packs, and he does, CG2 or CG1, 2, and 4 for fun, which good for him.
Yeah.
You know, But he said I was going to quit the game if I didn't. Alma was that tough, and then once he saw that strategy, it helped people move on. So I really hand it to Shin and Shinobier. And like I said, it's a shame that those videos are lost. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll talk a little bit about that later on. But I think those are the first two guys whenever it came to the original Ninja Gaiden.
They were
And then
pioneers, basically.
yeah,
Mhm.
I think so. And then going from there, uh, Captain Tuttle from the Hurricane packs, more people started making videos at that point. And again, this was before Ninja Gaiden Black
Yeah.
was released. Um, there was a guy named Dragon who made some really good videos. Um, who else, JTB, that you can think of offhand that
Um,
really
for
you're looking forward to hearing?
NGO4, man, other than the ones you've mentioned, I can't really not for NGO4 because
Right.
I'm trying to think if there's any I remember from. I mean, other than you, obviously, because you made videos for NGO4.
Well, it was a couple. I kind of got in there late, and to say
Yeah.
that about the videos, my second humble moment was whenever I started making videos, and the reason I started was because there was a guy on YouTube and said you can skip fights, wall jump, flying swallow, and that's all you need to do to get through the game. And it was easy and not a challenge. And I'm like, well, you're playing it the easiest, safest way possible. And that's what maybe some people wanted to do. But I started making some videos. Um, they weren't anywhere easy to make like they are right now, but that's a whole different subject.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget, getting a little cocky because of that. And I don't have the Godfather excuse, that I was a young, kid. I was in my 30s and late 30s and early 40s. And I remember telling Foreman, and I forget what his name was on the original Xbox, but it's Foreman on GameFAQs. And he had said some strategies, and I had said, dude, do you even know what you're talking about? And Weeble came back and said, big guy, this is the guy who won the European Master Ninja tournament to represent Europe. And I was like, oh. And then, after that, it was like, oh, I still live with that. That's shameful to admit,
It's a funny story.
even to today. But like I said, it learned, me my humbleness.
You learn
Mhm.
from it, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
and
you do.
and me and Foreman, we've laughed about it in the past. Me and Weeble still laugh about it. I think your Xbox is going dark.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Turn it back on. There we go.
And so anyway, he had some really good stuff too. He had some good intercept videos on Doku that I think JTB you used uh in your Hurricane pack run.
Oh, what? Just
Your
intercepting his strings?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was
I mean,
man. When I saw videos of intercept, I've said this before. I was so annoyed that I could because I didn't have Xbox Live, back then. And it's funny, this sounds really ancient that we're talking about this now, but believe it or not, it was kind of hard to get Xbox Live. You couldn't just a quick side note on that. I remember the first time I got wired internet, for my Xbox. That was the 360. And to give people a bit of perspective, I had to buy a 100-foot long cable.
God damn.
wow.
Yeah, and that cost over £100 when I bought it. It was. I remember going into a computer shop to ask for it. I was like, what's the longest Ethernet cable you've got? And they said, 30 feet. I was like, have you got one that's 95? And they said, no. We'll have to order that specially. It's like, okay, well, can you order it, please?
Wow.
So going back a while, but Yeah, so I could never have Xbox Live, and when I saw those videos, like I got so annoyed, like watching it, because I would kill to play this, and I didn't get around to playing the Hurricane packs even for the first time until like 2010, I think it was when they turned
Oh,
off
wow.
Xbox Live,
Wow.
whenever that was, I can't remember exactly, but when they turned off, the old Xbox Live, I remember I was at university at the time, I wasn't really playing NGB or NG at all, but I remember thinking, I can't let them turn it off and never play these, So I remember borrowing a copy of Ninja Gaiden from like the university. They had it like as like a history piece. I was like, can I just borrow that to go download the Hurricane packs and play them?
That's
And I
awesome.
remember playing them, and I played Hurricane Pack 1 and 2. I think in the span of like a couple of days, pretty much, because I just was out of time, and being at university, I didn't have time to sink like 100 hours into a run. But I saved my chapter 1 save though, for which proved like a good thing to do. So
I
it's
still have mine.
For
I
the
still have my
intercept
save.
chest, right? For the intercept chest at the beginning of the game, pretty much.
Yeah, well, on chapter 1, my save is it's not quite as early as it can be, because my save is before you go and fight the ninjas on the walkway, and then the ninjas before Mirai. So there is one extra fight, and since then, that intercept strategy, like I didn't figure that out until much later. So there is a lot of points left in chapter 1. If anyone can ever crack that to play it from the very beginning.
Yeah.
There's a lot of points in that chapter now that that's
Well,
out there. So
and I will say, jumping ahead to the collection real quick, I know a lot of people are excited that it's the Sigma 2 and
Razor's
NG,
Edge.
Razor's Edge, but I just feel like the Ninja Gaiden, Ninja Gaiden Black, Ninja Gaiden 2, it's a shame that they said that they lost those files,
Yeah.
because playing with the intercept was so much fun.
Yeah,
Now
no,
I know you
I've
can.
watched JTB's video. It seems like great fun. I think personally, what they should have done, I don't know if you guys agree with that. I think it should have been a toggle in the option, and then it changes, the karma leaderboard that it gets to. So, for example, if you turn it on and you would play a karma run, you have a different leaderboard for people using intercept versus, the regular one, and then you could just have fun with it, I guess.
Tell
I'd
you
agree
what,
with that. Yeah, I think
yeah,
the only thing I think with intercept, I think this is just kind of hindsight being beneficial, is because I did mention this in the video I made about it. As fun as it was, I think it is actually better overall for the history of the game that they got rid of it,
Yeah, it would
oh
because
have been
wow,
too
it
easy, I
is.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, it is so, like, most people, I feel, funny enough, I got one comment on that video that genuinely just made me laugh. Most people don't know enough about the game to understand just how broken that move is.
Yeah.
And it's hard to summarize, like, kind of, quickly, but it's basically just God mode
Yeah.
in that game.
Yeah.
And you
as
have to
long as
kind
you
of
know how to use
understand.
it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I mean. Yeah, like
Yeah.
you have to have like kind of an above average level of understanding to know why it's good and like why it's so good. Um, but if they'd have kept it in the game, I think even at the lower level, you can just kind of like mash block and you'll get intercept quite often. And then on the lower difficulties, and especially with NGO4, you haven't got like the guard crushing properties of black. And I think it would have made the game
Too easy.
kind of, yeah, it would not necessarily too easy, but I think people wouldn't have discovered the depth that's in
Yeah.
the game if they'd have kept intercept in there, because
Well, I
you
think
know.
there's ways around that. Like, for example, make it an unlockable. Once you beat Master Ninja, then that unlocks the intercept.
Oh yeah,
So
you could do that, but say if
yeah,
we're going on NGO4, like
right, right, right.
that
Yeah,
wasn't there. So it's it's one of those things. It's great to mess around with, and for karma, it's the HP1 karma system. I mean, that's a whole different topic, but it is really cool to figure out. How do I get the most intercepts here? And that requires a lot of knowledge on the combat, because you can't just kind of stand there and spam block. There is a lot of like tactics like allocated to getting a lot of intercepts, but it's a shame that it's just completely gone. That's the
well,
worst thing.
there's one thing that I did back in the day. So after we all met on Game Facts, that's when Iberian Warrior decided to kind of make a site that was Iberian's NG Realm or IW's. So, having said that, there was a lot of information that the community put together over the years. And a couple things that were there was going back to the Ninja Gaiden 2004 and also the Hurricane packs was Snapdragon's guide on how he got his high score, which was like 21 million or something before they changed it. Before they changed it to where, once you leave chapter 4, you can't go back in, and the chapter 4 fights would start out with the 10,000 bonus points. But the
Mhm.
other one, in terms of Hurricane Pack 1, which was Master Ninja Tournament 2, was Seria. And he was one of the top players, and you could still see him on the leaderboard. But he wrote out what he thought the max karma would be based on his understanding of the intercept. And JTB came along and really kind of destroyed that, not only using the techniques that's been evolved from the game, but also him just knowing the patterns and how to understand that. And I've always wondered. So I've kept all those notes. And I think he said it was like, maybe 36 million or something at the most. I forget.
Mhm.
I don't have the notes up right now. But I think you beat that by what, like 1.5 million or something?
My HP1 is 37.4, I think.
Yeah. So
Um,
so that's the great thing about
yeah.
the game. I mean, I'm happy to still
And that's
have those
beatable.
notes.
Like for anyone that's wondering, like that's not. I was. This was ages ago when I was streaming actually, but I remember watching Chapter 6 and thinking, like I don't think that's actually optimal there. Like what I did, and I'm thinking, there's a few other fights like that. And the thing with HP1 is that your score inflates so much. If you because of the way the scoring system works, if you've wasted like 3 seconds on a handful of fights, that can be like 50,000 points.
Right, with the intercept. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
And
So
in
it's
time. And yeah,
yeah.
the time bonus.
The scores are inflated quite a bit on that. So it like beating it by like 1 million points sounds like a lot, but it's not the same as beating like an NGB karma run by 1 million points. Like that'd be like something completely different would have to be found
Well,
for that.
I think having that information again, because we are talking about the history of the game, that I'm glad that I still have that. I think I posted it in one of my videos, so it's good that that stuff's
Yeah,
still out
it's
there,
good that you kept that.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely.
and also that it shows how just because one of the top guys, and this is absolutely no disrespect to Serial because he was one of the best guys. You could see his name on the leaderboards back in the day. But just goes to show there's always room for improvement, no
Yeah,
matter how good you are.
yeah, I agree,
Yeah.
100%. That's why I said the other time. I always say I never said I've mastered something at Ninja Gaiden Black because the moment you said you master something is the moment where you stop improving. So
Right.
Exactly, yeah.
so I pretty much always say like you can say that you're close to being at your peak, but you can never really say that you fully mastered this game because the fact that we're still finding new things
Mhm.
like
Right.
16 years later just shows how crazy this game is.
I
Yeah.
think so after Shin and Shinobi are, started making videos and, Iberians Warriors started uh, hosting videos because again, there wasn't a YouTube like we know it today. You could only 10 minutes long and 100 megabytes, and I remember going through
Hmm.
virtual dub and
480p or
yeah.
240p back then, something like that.
It
Oh
wasn't even
yeah.
480, yeah. That was
240, right?
it was
The old
yeah, it
240.
was like 240, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
I
that
still
I know
have
I've
some of my
mentioned this.
original videos that wouldn't even play on YouTube. I tried to upload them because people have asked me to upload my original hard run that I did all those years ago.
Pixel City, right?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought. Yeah, makes
That's
sense.
But that's what led Iberian Warrior to start, hosting the videos there. And it was great because the community had evolved from Game Facts and came over to a site where people could share their ideas. There was people who wouldn't. I remember Platinum didn't want to at first, and he finally made a video, and I think his big contribution because he's still what? Doesn't he have over 55 million?
Yeah, he was
Oh,
one
yeah.
of the early guys, I think, to do that.
Yeah.
He was the first to get. Wasn't he the first to get pretty much every 50 milestone? Like
Yeah.
50, 51, 52, 53, 54, and 55. Like, because for the longest time, I think it was him. Off the top of my head, I think the three big names I remember from like the early days of mission mode were Platinum, Ninja of Sorrow, and Fat Man.
Right.
They were like the only ones that had like 50, like the high 50s. You know, like when everyone else was kind of breaking 50, they already had like 54. You know, and 55.
Oh man, Fat Man was so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun to watch his videos. I still never forget whenever he counterattacked the cat up in the air with the flails.
And 99999, he went to
Yeah,
999
yeah.
combo. Yeah, that's an old school video. I remember that.
And that's a lot harder than I think a lot of people realize. Like, that's not easy to do. It's that's one of those videos where you think, oh, that's kind of cool. And it's like that probably took him a while to get that.
Yeah,
You
no,
know-
he was a good player, very good player.
But going back to Platinum, and if this is what I remember, I don't know if JTB remembers it differently, but whenever he made the video, Platinum was the first one to use smoke bombs to their potential.
So smoke bomb
On
to
video,
charge attack
yeah.
and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we all thought that they were useless.
Well, I didn't.
Well, I mean, again, you're higher up than us regular, guys who just, but he really showed it on video and started to drop the smoke bomb into the forward Y to charge,
Yeah.
and get the ET or UT. And I remember that was a big game changer in Karma. This was before Kiori too.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think on the subject of smoke bombs, because I was pretty late. Well, I say I was late. I was late in like in a manner of perspective to playing for score. And I was more just a kind of combat focused player originally, and that's where even to this day it still annoys me when people say smoke bombs are only useful on a Karma run.
Oh my god,
And-
that's
and I think,
just ignorance. That's just total ignorance.
It is, yeah, and I feel like, do you not realize what they do in the context of the game? And that's kind of how I was using them originally. Was, people would get like blown up by cat fiends. It's like, we'll just smoke bomb, and you can just run up to them and hit them.
Or
They're
run away
super-
like me.
Yeah, no, those
Yeah.
smoke bombs are,
Um,
are really good, I think, and they're underrated, I guess, by people that don't know how to use them. Actually,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.